We will now begin the December 4th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission pre-meeting. Do we have someone to go over the agenda this evening?
Good evening, everyone. All right, we'll jump right into it. Old business, items 1A, B, C, and D. The applicant has requested that these items remain tabled, so no action is needed on those. That takes us to old business items 2A and 2B. This is a request for a preliminary plat for a single-family residential subdivision with 20 homes to be called Enclaves at Brook Hollow at 845 Feisey Road. In addition to the 20 home lots, there's going to be 3 common ground lots and then a lot for the existing radio tower on the site, so a total of 24 lots. 19 of them will be accessed from Garden Meadows Drive street stub, and then the other will be accessed from Magdalen Lane street stub. The right-of-way will be preserved at the end of both of these to allow for any future development if that tower were ever to go away. So the rest of that site could be developed if that time ever came. This property is zoned R1, has a minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet. The smallest lot that they're proposing is 10,000 square feet, but there's only one that is exactly 10,000 square feet. So most of them, I think the average is about 15,000 square feet. That first part should not be there. There were discussions regarding a sidewalk connection between this development and Turtle Creek to the north. The developer has stated that they're not interested in making that connection. We have reached out to the Turtle Creek HOA. We had not heard back from them if they were interested in this connection or not. So staff is not putting that as a condition, just something to be aware of. There was some discussion regarding that. Staff is recommending approval of the preliminary plat with some of the following conditions. Prior to construction, the condition of the access roads will need to be documented. It will be the responsibility of the developer to make any necessary repairs. The city will designate which streets are to be used for construction access. Provide an agreement with the neighboring property owners for accessing common ground and detention area. That's referring to the owners of the tower site so that they're able to get to the common ground and detention areas for any maintenance, and provide sidewalks all the way around the street and the cul-de-sacs that they are proposing. Here is the preliminary plat. Their detention and common ground lots are down here, and they'd have to go through the tower site, which is following this curve. And then the 19 lots on this side, and then one off of the street over here. They're proposing 2 different styles of home. This is a ranch style, and then a 2-story there. Any questions on this plan?
Commissioner Howard?
Has there been any consideration made as to laying this out as a full subdivision development and then just building the houses that are outside the drop zone?
As far as I know, the developer did not plan for that, essentially because they don't know when or if that tower will ever go away. Part of what we are requiring is a bit of right-of-way right here, which you can kind of see with these 2 lines, and then right-of-way off the end of this. If this tower were to go away, they would be able to make this connection here. There's also a stub here and one up here. So there's still plenty of opportunities to make those connections if that ever did go away. So I think staff is I guess not concerned with the ability to make those connections in the future. I think we have enough stubs and right of way being provided.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor?
You can go back to the conditions. That one, the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go out and inspect those roads?
I don't know if it's, yeah, they'll be
What it
inspected.
looks like what I'm seeing is we're going to go out and inspect the roads, and if there's something wrong with the roads that the developer has not done any damage to yet, we're making the developer fix that? Because that's, to me, it says Prior to construction, the condition access roads will be documented, and it will be responsibility of the developer to make any necessary repairs to those roads. Is that after?
I believe the intent of that is after development. I guess Todd can weigh in a little
Because
more on that.
I'm trying to get it to, if the developer's fine with that, by all means, I'm okay with that. But to me, if the street is already damaged,
Yeah, the intent of that is to supply an access escrow to repair any damage to the streets that the developer causes. So any previous damage that's there will not be the responsibility of the developer to repair.
do we need to change the language of that then? Because that just tells me that the developer's paying for any damage that's on that road right now.
We should change that second part. It will be the responsibility of the developer to make any necessary repairs for any damage that was not subject of the previous documentation.
Good enough for me.
Can do that.
I mean,
Madam Chair.
now, if the developer wants to pay for it, I'm all right with that.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Seymour?
thank you. Mr. Mayor, that's exactly what I was going to bring up, but I'd like to point out Lot 20. And what, is that going to be a street, a city-approved street to that lot?
So
And how is that individual going to get in and out? You know what I'm saying? How is that going to be accessed with this homeowner?
yeah, so right now the street stubs about right here. It's just being extended just a small amount to get the driveway access off of that. And then it's going to continue to be stubbed past that.
But how is the city going to be able, so you're saying that's going to be all private drive? Whoever buys Lot 20 could end up with a 50 or 60-foot long driveway?
Essentially, they are extending a small portion of public road long enough for them to attach a normal residential driveway off of. So they'll have just a normal driveway up to a portion of public street. And then beyond that driveway, it'll be stubbed again for any.
Then it would be private street going out to the site, the tower site.
Yeah, there'll be the private drive that's being adjusted. Right now, it runs through Lot 20,
Right.
which is, it's going to be moved. It's going to follow this route right now. So it'll be out of Lot 20 for the tower site.
Okay. And it doesn't look like it on my plan, but okay. It works up there.
Mayor?
On that, is there going to be enough room for our trash trucks to be able to get to Lot 20? I mean, is it going to be get to Lot 20 and then they're going to have to back down Magdalen Lane?
There is an existing turnaround right here.
Okay.
So if anything, it's just a minimal.
So they just have,
Room to
they'll
back.
pick up their trash and there'll be enough to when they do the snow plow to get through and just push it.
Should
Enough.
be.
Okay. Thank you.
That'll be reviewed more in depth with construction plans, I'm sure. But yeah, that's the intent.
Commissioner Howard?
Condition 2 with the adjoining property owners, is that the tower, is the adjoining property owners?
Yeah, that
Not
is.
the residents that are.
That's meant to be for the tower.
Okay.
This here is the property line roughly for the tower site, and this is part of their detention easement here on that site. So right now the access is going through here. I think we would like for there to be an access through here and maybe shift these lots a little bit. And we're going to have that discussion with the developer during construction plans.
I guess the burning question is, did the tower get taller or did it move closer to the homes that in the fall zone?
On the side over here.
Yes, sir.
As best as we know, those homes were built next to the tower before the fall zone requirements were in place. So now any new construction would need to meet those requirements.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go on to the next item.
All right, old business, items 3A and 3B. This is a request for a preliminary plat for a 2-lot commercial subdivision on the south side of West Terra Lane across from Pruitt Crossing Court. This property recently had an office warehouse development approved just a couple months ago. They're requesting to split off a small portion of that lot and sell it to adjacent property owner. That parcel is currently entirely covered in floodway, so there's not really much that they can do with it. I think the adjacent property owner is Brock's Tree Service, so they might have a little more that they could possibly do with it. So staff is recommending approval of this plat. So right here is where they're splitting it, Pruitt Creek right there. So just this little tip of the property is what they're wanting to split off and sell. So any questions on that?
Members of the commission, anyone have any questions? All right, let's go on to the next item on the agenda.
All right. New business, item 1A. This is a site plan for grading at 100 Highway P. At this time, the applicant is just proposing to grade the site. They're not proposing any construction. They just want to get it pad ready for future development. At that time, for future development, a site plan would be required, like we usually see with buildings and parking lots and all that. So staff is recommending approval of this site plan for grading. So here's the site, Highway P to the north, and then a little further on this side is Main Street, and they're just looking to grade the site.
I don't see any questions, so let's go on to the next item.
All right. New business, item 2A. This is a request for a display house plat in the Strawberry Farm subdivision. They've already been approved for one display home and associated parking in the lot next to it. They are requesting to construct 3 more display homes and one more parking lot associated with that. And staff is recommending approval of that. So right here, these 2 were previously approved with the display house here and then this parking. They're proposing another display here and then 2 further down this street with parking adjacent to those as well. So here is one of the elevations and then the other 2. Any questions on this one?
Let's go on to the next item.
All right, new business, items 3A and 3B. This is a request for a preliminary plat for a 5-lot commercial subdivision at 24 O'Fallon Square. Proposing to split it into 5 pieces. Pretty much everything is already existing. Lot 1 is the existing Storco storage building. Lot 2 and Lot 5 are existing parking lots that serve that. Lot 3 is an existing commercial center, and Lot 4 is the bank drive-through, all right there in O'Fallon Square. Staff is recommending approval of this preliminary plat with the following condition: to provide a copy of the indentures, covenants, and deed restrictions for the record plat. That would include any cross-access agreements or shared parking that would need to be covered by that. So here is the plan. It's kind of hard to see the lot lines. We've got lot 1, 2, 3 is this existing commercial. The bank drive-through is 4, and then this large parking area is lot 5. So, any questions on this?
Commissioner Howard?
The condition that you showed on the screen did not say anything about parking or cross-access. Is that something that needs to be amended, or is that just you understood?
That's generally what is covered in the indentures, covenants, and deed restrictions would be any shared infrastructure, which would be the access and the parking. So that would be covered by that.
Thank you.
I don't see any other questions, so let's go on to the next item.
All right. New business item 4A. This is a request for a site plan for a building addition at 7136 South Outer Road 364. They are proposing a 360 square foot building addition off the back of the existing dermatology office there. Staff is recommending approval of the site plan with no conditions. So there's the existing site, just adding the small little addition here off the back. Here are the elevations, just small little addition, should match the rest of the building pretty well. So any questions on this one?
I don't see any, so let's go on.
Okay. All right, new business items 5A, 5B, 5C, 5D, and 5E. This is a request for a rezoning, preliminary plat, conditional use permit, and site plan for a development to be called Stonebridge Commons, with 39 attached villas and an assisted living senior community on property on the south side of Mexico Road between Old Canals Road and Canals Road. I guess we'll go through kind of one at a time. The first one is the rezoning. They're looking to rezone approximately 8 acres of that site from CO Office District to R2, two-family residential. The remaining 3.39 acres would remain CO Office District. Staff is recommending approval of the rezoning with no conditions. So here is the rezoning exhibit. This portion here is the R2 with the 39 attached townhomes, the two-family homes, and then down here would be the senior portion, and that would stay CO. So this is the rezoning portion. Do we want to go through all of it before questions? Okay. Next is the preliminary plat. That would, again, create 39 lots for the attached villas, a common ground lot with a dry detention basin, and a lot for the assisted senior living development. This plat would also provide for the reconfiguration of Old Canals. Currently, the road ends and is divided by a set of Jersey barriers. This plan would provide an intersection that basically comes to a right angle with curb and gutters on both sides, landscaping and sidewalk connections. This would remove the broken up pavement and the temporary barriers that are in place, and would put some landscaping in there to provide a more permanent looking separation of those roads. So they're not proposing to connect that street through. So we're going to clean it up a little bit and have it, look proper. Staff is recommending approval of the preliminary plat with the condition to provide curb ramps at on the sidewalks at the intersection of Old Canals Road. So here is what that plat looks like. We've got our 39 lots, the common ground with the basin, and then the senior development down here. And like I said, the kind of cleaned up intersection here. So just a closer look. This is the one end, and here's the other end. And we'll look at this closer with the site plan for the senior living and the conditional use permit. Here are the elevations of these. We've got kind of a 1.5 story, and then they've also got a ranch style. Okay, next is the conditional use permit for the senior overlay in the CO office district zoning to allow for an assisted living development. They are proposing 5 buildings and a clubhouse. That clubhouse would be shared with the villas as well. They're proposing 80 units, which our senior overlay classifies as 40 housing units, so 40 units. Staff is recommending approval of that conditional use permit. So that'll take us right into the site plan for the assisted living senior development. Again, 5 buildings, clubhouse, and 40 units. Staff is recommending approval of the site plan with some of the following conditions. Add a sidewalk going south from the clubhouse connecting to the cul-de-sac. And then the sewer main in front of building Swarm 5 need to be relocated away from the buildings, preferably along the south portion of that cul-de-sac, looping up and around. The way it's situated now, the sewer main is going through the buffer yard, which is not allowed, so just need to make some changes to that. So here is the site plan. We've got the clubhouse out here, and then 5 buildings, each kind of have a courtyard area. They do have a buffer yard that would be along here, and then along here as well. Here's the elevation of those 5 senior living buildings. This is the floor plan. There's a lot of basically just bedrooms off of a half bath, essentially. Since it's assisted living, they do have different areas with the showers to assist the residents. Here is the clubhouse elevation, what it'll look like. And that is that project. So any questions on all of that?
All right. And with that, and we have nothing else on the
That's the end of the
agenda,
agenda.
correct? So we'll go ahead and close this pre-meeting, and we'll have the regular meeting starting at 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now begin the December 4th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Tracy, can you do the roll call?
Chairperson Carolyn Thomas,
Present.
Vice Chairperson Nunnery,
Present.
Mayor Hennessy,
Present.
Councilman Cascella,
Present.
Commissioner Howard,
Present.
Commissioner Seymour,
Present.
Commissioner Nagar,
Here.
Commissioner Baust,
He's excused.
Commissioner Heath,
Present.
Commissioner Link,
Present.
Commissioner Egemeyer,
Present.
Commissioner Holting,
Present.
Commissioner Hallbaker.
Present.
Mayor, will you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Members of the commission, you have in front of you the agenda for the December 4th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved, Nunnery.
Second, Charlie Nagar.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the December 4th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting agenda. Members of the commission, cast your votes.
Voting is closed.
All right, the agenda for this evening's meeting has been approved. At this point in the meeting, we open it up to citizens' comments and to speak about anything on the agenda. The only person that has filled out a citizens' comment card at this point is Mr. Dienoff.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. First of all, I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, and a brand new year in 2026. Hopefully our city will be seeing a lot of economic development in the coming year. A couple things that stand out as red flags on the agenda for tonight. Number one, between D and E is missing meeting minutes, which would be a violation of Chapter 89 of the revised state statutes, a chapter governing municipalities statewide, and a chapter governing all governments in the general doing of business. Every political subdivision in St. Charles County and across our state approved meeting minutes within their regular meeting. For some reason, you took it off and you do not do that. The other thing that sticks out like a red flag is the closed session that was held by this commission at 6:00 p.m. It's my understanding, came to my attention, that you all met in closed session, which would be a violation of Chapter 610 and also the Open Meetings Act of our state that apply to all political subdivisions, including this commission. Now, it's my understanding that you were doing training and educational opportunity. That should have been open to all the citizens behind me to view, to consume, to see the written materials. I will be filing a complaint under Chapter 610, the Open Meetings Act, with our new Attorney General Hanaway to investigate if the law was actually broke in terms of Chapter 610.021, 610.022, and 610.023, which applied to closed meetings, which you need to meet with certain requirements, such as meeting personnel, discussing contracts, discussing something that's within the law that allows you to hide from the public. And so I would encourage you and give you a firm caution in the future that when you hold these training and educational opportunities, that you open them up to the entire community, our 100,000 residents that deserve to be part of that learning process and deserve to be part of seeing what's happening in terms of being taught to the commission to see if it's right or wrong or invalid materials that may be presented to you by staff or by other members of the city. Couple items, most of them I'll be testifying in public hearing. The two-lot development at West Terra, east of Lake St. Louis, splitting a lot, I don't have any objections. Strawberry Farms, McKelvey Homes is adding 4 additional display homes. I do not have an objection.
Mr. Dino,
Yes.
your time is up.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner?
before we go any further, Stephanie, could you speak to the fact that our meeting minutes are in a proper order and fashion, our state statute, and because we have a larger crowd than normal, would you explain to them that a closed session was appropriate, please?
Certainly. So the law does allow the Planning and Zoning Commission to go into closed session for several different reasons. And your reason that was cited was subsection 1 of 610.021. And you went into closed session in accordance with the law. So you're good there. With respect to the meeting minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission, they do comply with law. There's no violation of Chapter 89, as the speaker alluded to. They do cover every single item, and they are approved in accordance with law.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, well, that way we'll close citizens' comments and move on to old business. The first item we have under old business is 1414 Bryan Road. At this point, the applicant has requested that these next part items related to 1414 Bryan Road remain tabled until the January 8th, 2026 meeting. So at this point, no further action will be taken on this item. For the next item on the agenda is 845 Feisey Road, the Enclave at Brook Hollow. At this point, we need a motion and a second to remove these items from the table.
So moved, Nunnery.
Second, Seymour.
All right, we have a motion and a second to remove the item for 845 Feisey Road, the Enclave at Brook Hollow, from the table. Members of the commission, cast your votes.
Voting is closed.
All right, this item is now open for discussion. This is a public hearing, and it's a request for consideration and motion of action on a preliminary plat for 845 Fisey Road. McKelvey Homes is the contract purchaser for a proposed use of a 20-lot, single-family residential subdivision. Do we have someone here to present this item?
Yes. Hello. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for your time. My name is Phil Brennan. I'm with McKelvey Homes, and I have a quick little presentation showing you the property that we're looking to develop and also what we plan on building on this site. Mayor, I won't take too much of your time. I know you're pretty familiar with McKelvey Homes and what we do. But I'll run through some of our history. We're the oldest builder in St. Louis. Started way back in 1898. These are some of our old photos of grading being done before motorized vehicles were used. Another shot. This is some sewer trenching going on. Right at Lay Road in St. Louis County. The site we're proposing is called the Enclave at Brook Hollow. It is right at Bryan and Fisey. It's also adjacent to one of our previous subdivisions that we've developed in O'Fallon, Muirfield Manor, which is, can't really see it, it's kind of small, but I'll show you later. Right down here on Muirfield, our Magdalen Lane. This is the overhead view of it. This is a close-up view. This is a tower site. So there is a tower. It's about 511 feet tall on the site. We're not purchasing that land. As you can see, we'll be doing 20 houses surrounding it. We'll be doing our designer series here, which is our 3-car front entry homes, anywhere from 2,500 to 4,000 square feet. And like I said, we'll be doing 20 of them. Let me go back to that one. Oh. Yeah, so 19 of the houses will be accessed off of Brook Hollow Drive, which is already in place, coming in on Garden Meadows. And then the lot 20, which will be accessed off Magdalen Lane, which is in our previous subdivision, Muirfield Manor. It's zoned R1, so we're not asking for any rezoning, so pretty straightforward. This is our landscape plan. You can see the monument we're proposing, all the trees that we're going to add. We'll have considerable buffers behind all the homes with removal of minimal trees on this site. And then this is a few of our homes that we're proposing. This is our designer series. We built all over St. Louis County and St. Charles County, and a bunch in O'Fallon. Our ranch, the Sterling, another ranch, a little bit bigger, the LaSalle, 2,800 square feet. That's a display at Inverness. I know it's not O'Fallon, but it's right across the street, and your rivals, Dardian Prairie. The Provence are story and a half. Another story and a half, the Muirfield. Some interior shots, and then the largest, the Turnberry, just over 4,000 square feet. That's all I have for you guys. We have our engineer, Dave Voles, here, as well as our land development manager, Jeff Daly. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot. Thank you very much.
Members of the commission? Commissioner Seymour?
I have a question. Has there been a determination made, or is there a determination on any kind of health risk living that close to the tower? I know there's other individuals.
Not to my understanding. We did also do another site in Afton that has a tower on it, and We went through extensive research, and no one's provided any safety inquiries or anything.
Well, there's some existing homes that look like they're in the fall zone there.
Correct, yes.
They're on
Yeah,
Gray Wolf.
correct, yes.
And I was just wondering if that was part of that beforehand or not.
As far as our development, or,
Well, as far as consideration for the fall zone, and of course, I was just wondering whether or not there was any kind of health hazards or any health risks or anything you're aware of.
not to my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Members of the commission, does anyone else have any other questions for the petitioner? All right, this is a public hearing, and we have several people who've completed comment cards and would like to speak regarding this item on the agenda. The first one, Mr. Dienoff.
Thank you very much, members of the commission. Arnie C. A.C. Dienoff, City Public Advocate. A couple issues that I have with this property are the density. In terms of density concerns, it's a very tight, constraints are very close proximity to your neighbor. We're trying to get the most profitability instead of environmental concerns, instead of green space. Yes, they have some green amenities, but basically on this development, you can reach out and touch your neighbor. Now in the staff report, the setbacks, the side setbacks, rear and front setbacks, those weren't really addressed in the staff report like they usually are, but I have some concerns on density. The tower, is the tower being considered with appropriate wind concerns? As you know, we have a lot of winds, tornadoes, that get up in the 70, 80 mile an hour per hour type realm. And so we want to ensure that every house, that public safety is the number one concern. Unfortunately, there were other houses that are within that fall zone. If that tower would fall a certain way, it could crush and obliviate some homes within this zone. There's a caveat about damages caused by the current by the construction on current public streets. I want to ensure that we do an ample top-to-bottom inspection of the current ramification in the current today's streets, because we don't want to put on the backs of citizens to absorb any cost of repairing those concrete slabs. When it comes to sidewalk connectivity, there needs to be, number two, provide sidewalks all the way around the streets and cul-de-sacs. I want to ensure that it's a walkable and a pedestrian-friendly, buildable neighborhood. Number three, staff recommendation is extend the sidewalk in front of lot 20 to the other side of the street. And so we want to make sure that that connection takes place on this property, and there's no free passes or, like we don't care, we don't want to provide a sidewalk. In terms of the tower, unfortunately, I believe that this is going to be a hard sell for McKelvey. Once this property goes up, once they build the homes, I feel that the property values will diminish greatly, and that they're not going to be selling them for $400,000 or plus once people view that atrocious, ugly-looking cell phone tower in their backyards. It's too tight.
Mr. Dienoff?
Yes,
Your time's up.
thank you.
Okay, so the next person that completed a comment card, John Duello.
Haven't spoken public in a long time. So I live in lot 54, which house number 2 will be now in my backyard. When I purchased my home from Patsy Bomarito, I was told and reassured by Gundaker that that tower was under a 25-year lease and that no homes could be built any closer to my residence. That's why I purchased that home. I'm sure McKelvey's going to build beautiful homes. My concern is McKelvey, I am in construction. They know how many cubic yards of concrete the street's going to take already. They probably already got a contractor lined up, their concrete guy. They know how many yards of concrete each home's going to consume. They know how much traffic that's going to put in an existing subdivision. So nobody has said, are they coming in from Crimson Meadows only? Are they coming in from Brook Hollow only? What time are they working? Am I going to be out there having a birthday party for my grandson and I got guys in the backyard working on a Saturday? What is the city doing to reinsure that the people that live in that subdivision are not sitting there like we bought a new home in a new subdivision? My other question is, and McKelvey Homes was told by my wife, in that field, there has been more Indian artifacts found than you could ever believe. So before, well, not before, because today they showed up in their core drilling, and they have a tractor trailer parked on the dead-end street that we as subdivision owners aren't even allowed to park in. But they're already back there test holing. I knew the guys that were back there because they do also work in construction and commercial work. So they're doing 9 boring holes, I believe? Okay, so how did this already start without a permit, anything being, signage, no signage? My concern is the city of O'Fallon going to replace all the roads when we have thousands of tons of material being brought back there? Or is McKelvey going to fix the roads? Because they're going to get tore up. We've had a lot of repairs already done to the streets in that subdivision. So my question is, how are you going to enter the project? What time are you going to be allowed to work? Saturdays, holidays? None of that's been answered. And I think they owe that to us as people living in that subdivision. Thank you.
All right, the next person that completed a comment card is Jeff Stoyanov. Is that-
Very good. Nobody ever gets that right. Yes, my name's Jeff Stoyanov. I'm a homeowner in Amber Meadows subdivision, 64 Hickory Meadows Court, and back up to the new proposed. I previously submitted my written comments to y'all, mainly about traffic, and as the other gentleman said, the walking out your front door and looking at a tower and all those kind of things, but that's McKelvey's decision of how to get the homeowners to buy it. The one thing I did forget was, isn't there a law that requires 2 ways in and out of a subdivision for emergency vehicles, fire apparatus, and so forth? No? Okay. Yeah, I thought there was everywhere. And I'd like to add to the question about the safety of the tower. So when we moved in, we were the second house up on the court. And when it was quiet at night, I could hear the radio. It's 97.1's radio tower, by the way. I think it's 100,000 watts. And I could hear the radio station through my speakers, through my stereo speakers, with nothing on in the house. So there's definitely a valid concern, I've thought so for 21 years that I've lived there, that there's a heck of a lot of radiation produced from that tower. And someone ought to at least look into that, have a study or something like that done, is my personal feeling. So thank you all very much.
The next person that completed a comment card, David Kedney.
Thank you very much. My name is David Kedney. I am a resident at Amber Meadows, 3117 Brook Hollow Drive. I'm not on the side of the farm, but I'm on the other side. I'm also the president of the Amber Meadows Homeowner Association, as well as the executive vice president for Luby Equipment, who has a location in O'Fallon, Missouri. We're a construction equipment dealership, so construction for us is a good thing. So I just want to make that all clear, balancing both my personal feelings as well as my professional feelings. So, sitting here thinking about this, and I know it's not really a Q&A, but the first question that came to my mind was, what is the mission of the Zoning and Planning Division? Okay, so we got 20 houses that we want to get built. That's the first thing. Second one was, is that in line with the city goals? I love this city. I think the city's great. This seems like we're kind of shoving things in there that I don't feel we really are necessary that's going to benefit the city. Number two is, and forgive me for my ignorance, but the process for getting a property rezoned. Someone mentioned earlier that it was R1. Obviously, that's residential. I'm kind of confused on why that property's been farmed since I moved here, and now all of a sudden it's residential. I'm not quite sure I understand that process. I think a lot of our residents, as well as our the folks of Amber Meadows, as well as the City of O'Fallon, probably need to have a better understanding of what that is, so everyone can get their head wrapped around what's going on. And then with the public, with that process, the rezoning process, I'm not quite sure as well, and again, forgive me for my ignorance, on how people are involved with that. If it just happens, and then now we're here talking about something we feel like we're kind of handcuffed on. Also, a question of mine would have been the repercussions to an owner of a property that's operating outside of what the zoning, what the property is zoned for. I know the previous thing on the agenda was tabled, but I think that's something that was brought up in previous council meetings about operating commercially, and it's zoned for ag and so on and so forth. So I think that's something that is worth talking about. The financial benefit to building houses versus keeping it the way it is. McKelvey Homes talked about extensive research. I think that should be something that should be brought up and discussed of what that actually means. And then finally, I get the glorious job of giving residents letters of not parking on the streets and trash cans and trailers on the property and whatnot. And I'm a little bit frustrated to hear from one of my residents today that we've got trailers that I get paid an awful lot of money to regulate, also known as $0 a year, to that we've got a contractor that we're talking about this discussion about this property and we're already acting like it's already done. So I feel like the rug kind of got pulled underneath us a little bit, and now I'm starting to have to answer questions about why a contractor can park their trailers on our streets when our residents are not allowed to do. So,
Mr. Kedney, I'm sorry, your time is up.
okay, thank you.
The next person that completed a comment card is all Stacy Hayes.
I'm all Stacey Hayes. Our property is at 3128 Brook Hollow Drive. It's just two houses north of the access road. We built this property in 6. We built it with Rouse. We built it because O'Fallon is a beautiful city. We love the naturalness of it, the green space. We were given assurances when we purchased this property that we would have that natural area available to us. We also paid a premium for our lot. We paid a $5,000 premium for our lot for that naturalness. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because that's not really that big of a deal, to be honest. We are seeing, I say we built it in 6. We're in our 20th year. We have seen explosive development in this city. We have seen traffic patterns expand exponentially. McKelvey Homes is one of the major contributors. their development just up from us, has added several traffic lights, has added congestion beyond belief. Brook Hollow Drive is a nice, beautiful residential street filled with beautiful homes. My neighbors can attest to that. It is now basically a cut-through. People are coming through our street in order to avoid the congestion that McKelvey and other builders, I'm not just going to point them out, have created for us. I'm going to leave that alone a little bit too. We're going to be looking at a year and a half or more between site prep, construction, and sales on this property. We're talking about 19 homes whose only access is Brook Hollow and the little short street going in. One other point on the traffic. These 19 homes is going to add an additional, 50, 60 cars in and out that little short street in Brook Hollow every day, plus the associated traffic, deliveries, various other kinds of services that people who buy homes like that expect and receive. I know we do. We're talking a major increase in traffic coming in and out of Brook Hollow Drive. We're looking at a lot of damage.
Mr. Hayes, your time's up.
Oh, my.
The other person that has completed a comment card, Elizabeth Lum.
Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Lum with Amundsen Davis. I'm counsel for the current property owner. And I'm here today just to kind of address a couple of the concerns that I've heard tonight and also seen raised in some of the emails to the city. And the first one is the question of how the tower got there. Why is the tower in an R1 district? The short answer is the tower was there first. The tower was initially built based on what we could, going back in the records. It was initially built in 1983. At the time, that was unincorporated St. Charles County, and everything around it was vacant. Indian Springs subdivision, which are, I believe, a couple of the properties there that fall within the fall zone, was built in 1999, so several years after the tower was constructed. The initial telecommunications ordinance that the city adopted was initially adopted, I believe, in 2006, and it was updated several years later. So we're talking about conditions that existed well before any of the other things kind of came into play. And the property was annexed and zoned as R1 in 2011. So it is considered a pre-existing use. As long as it continues to be used the way it is, it can stay there. The other thing I would like to clarify a couple of things with the safety concerns. It is not a cell tower, it is a radio tower. My understanding is that there's not a lot of conclusive evidence of radiation or harm coming from radio towers. As far as the safety and design and the fall zone, the developer and the property owner were very careful to comply with the city's current fall zone ordinance. Of course, we can't do anything about things that existed before the ordinance was adopted, but they are complying with the ordinance that's in place now. These towers, my understanding, are designed to accommodate the type of structure, the height of the structure, the wind shear, the ice, everything that Mother Nature might throw at them. They are actually designed to collapse inward in more of a controlled manner, so they don't just topple like a tree. They kind of go inward on themselves. They're very heavily regulated. They're regulated not only by the FCC, also the FAA, and if I'm not mistaken, there are probably some other environmental or regulatory agencies involved as well. So this isn't something that just kind of popped up. It was there, it's been there. it complies with not just what what the city is asking, but it also complies with federal regulations that it's obligated to follow. And just kind of in closing, again, this is a preliminary plat. It is an administrative process for the city, which means that if the plat complies with the city's ordinances, it must be approved. And just kind of in closing, I have worked with the folks at McKelvey Homes kind of parallel on various projects. I feel confident that they will also comply.
Your time's up.
Thank you.
All right, that's the last of the comment cards, so we will now ask the petitioner to come forward and address the concerns of the residents.
Thank you, residents, for your comments and concerns. This helps us build a better community as well. You know, we want your feedback. We want to understand what is troubling you and what we can do to help solve the issues. As I can speak to as far as the trailer on site, that is from our drilling company that we're using to do the boring holes. That is part of the due diligence process that we do on every site that we build on. We want to make sure that there's nothing bad in the ground or something that would, you know, hurt homeowners in the future. This is a standard process. We'll talk to them about where they park their trailer, and knowing that it's not a permanent thing, they're not allowed to just park wherever they want. We want to work with you guys to make sure it's all in compliance. What else? And also, one of the gentlemen said regarding the Indian artifacts, we're doing a cultural survey there. We'll analyze the ground, make sure it's not a historic site with cultural significance. We do this on every site. We've not really encountered anything in this area, so we're hoping that it's nothing major. What else? As far as the streets go, we'll do everything that the city of OFallon requires. We want to make sure that the construction process is as smooth as possible. I know construction can be disruptive, but we want to make sure the streets are clean, there's no damage to them, and if they are damaged, we want to make sure that we handle that properly. Anything else you guys think?
One of the other concerns was traffic.
Oh, yes, traffic. I understand it's 19 houses going in this and 20 with the one off Magdalene Lane, but we always handle traffic situations per the city and what they recommend doing. So we're open.
Mayor?
Anything else?
All right. I'm going to tell you the same thing I told you about Strawberry Fields.
Keep those streets clean.
Yes, sir. I do not want to hear from these residents. I guarantee the councilman don't want to hear from the residents that when you pull your trailers out or your trucks out, that there's mud on the street.
Absolutely. We don't want that either.
I'm just telling you, I don't want to get a phone call, because if I get a phone call from them, you know who's getting a phone call.
I understand, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
David, one of the gentlemen was asking about the hours of operation.
Oh, yeah.
I know wintertime, there's different time for winter and different time for summer.
For construction hours, this is a city code. So construction hours, October 1st through May 31st. Construction hours are 7 a.m. through 7 p.m. And then from June 1st through September 30th, it's 6 a.m. through 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. We don't have anything that talks about holidays, though, but that's what we got.
You guys don't, you probably work Saturdays. I don't think you do. Do you do Sundays?
Not typically, and the Saturdays are very sparse. You know, if there's weather, if there's a rain out for a full week, I know the carpenters would like to catch up and get some hours in, because they work on an hourly basis and they need to make a living.
Right. And I believe Elizabeth answered the question about the R1 zoning. It was when it came into the city in 2011. there was a public hearing to be annexed into the city and to be rezoned to R1. So to answer your question, normally there's a sign and a public hearing that goes out to the folks that are surrounding the area that says, here's the annexation. There's, public hearing for annexation, public hearing for the rezoning. So it would have been sent to 300 feet, if I'm not mistaken, to everybody that's around that property.
I guess my question is how do you operate?
I don't know what do you mean by operate?
Well, since I've lived there since 2015, they've been farming that land. That's not residential. So
I believe you can farm in R1.
Okay, that's a fair point. Thank you.
I believe that's all I had.
Okay.
If this passes, you need to keep them clean. And I would suggest you get with your folks and not have that trailer parked. And
Absolutely,
I would
yeah.
talk with the
We'll get right
HOA
on that.
president and make sure that you get with them and
Absolutely.
get everything straightened out with them.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Seymour?
thank you. One more thing, sir. During construction, if you wouldn't have your contractors, carpenters, whoever, whatever debris they create, make sure it does not go on these people's property.
Absolutely, yes.
Tie-vac or roofing shingles or whatever, all that material needs to be not on these people's adjacent property.
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor?
I have one other comment. There was a portion of the streets. The city will go out before they start construction or do anything else. They will go out and inspect from where they're coming in, and they will get with McKelvey Homes and say, this is where you need to come in. You're not going to come in through Amber Meadows. You'll probably come in off of Feisey. Whatever the city and folks decide how they're going to come in, they will inspect those streets. And then once the 20 homes or 19 homes that are built, they will go back and inspect those streets again, and any other damage will have to be replaced by McKelvey Homes. No. I can talk to you after the meeting, but the public hearing is already closed. So we can talk after the meeting. But right now, they're going to go out and inspect the streets from point A to point B where they're going to enter. Inspect everything, write everything down. The inspectors will be there, McKelvey will be there, and they'll say yes, 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 yes. And then after the construction's done, they'll go re-inspect the streets. And if they do something during the construction, McKelvey's going to have to fix that street. Plain and simple. That's in the condition. It's in their conditions that they have to do that. And you do agree to that?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, the core drilling that you're doing, what are you exactly, you're looking for, any potential hazards or?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Core drilling that you're doing?
Oh, yeah. We just don't know what's under there. It's kind of a precaution to find out if there's rock under there, if there's any hazardous materials, or what else are we looking for? Plastic soil. Sure.
Okay.
This is Jeff Taylor. He's our land development.
Yes, okay.
Hi, Jeff Taylor with McKelvey Homes. So it's a geotechnical exploration mostly. We basically are drilling down till 20 feet or until we hit, the refusal on the auger if we hit solid rock. And it'll tell us the soil composition. It'll tell us when we grade the site, what precautions we're going to have to take, what dirt has to go in what areas, in the building footprints to support the home construction, lean clays or fat clays, things of that nature. It's a 4-inch hole that they drill, and then we fill it back in with the drill cuttings, and then we seed and straw any areas that have been disturbed after that. So,
All right.
and they will be finished tomorrow. That trailer will be out of there. So I apologize for creating any confusion with the trailer parked on the street.
Okay. So, this is, the public hearing is closed at this session. Okay, the public hearing is closed. Gentlemen, would you turn and face the dais, because we're not taking any questions or comments right now at this point, okay? We have to have a certain amount of decorum here, and that is not just people shouting from the audience.
Understood.
I think you guys have addressed everything that everybody brought up. I would like to ask a little bit more about the Indian artifacts. If in fact that is true, what do you guys do, and what is the repercussions of that if there was something discovered?
I mean, if there's anything major like a burial site, obviously we're not going to be allowed to, or would go forward with the project. We rely on the experts on this. I'm not really sure what the
So
what the pattern
SCI
is.
Engineering will do a full cultural resources exploration. And they'll basically go back through the history, look at any other historical items that are related to that area. And then we would make a decision during that due diligence period, on what their recommendations are. They'll make a recommendation on how we would move forward, or a recommendation against moving forward based on what they find.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do other people find out that information? Do you provide that information to the city if there was something to be found, or how's that addressed?
I'm not sure if we provide that information publicly, but, I know that we do provide the city with our geotechnical exploration. We will provide them with our fish and wildlife exploration as well. We make sure there's no endangered species or anything of that nature that have habitat on site as well. So.
Okay. All right, members of the commission, does anyone else have any other questions? Commissioner Howard?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I'm just interested personally in the downstream defender. That's part of the sewer system?
It's part of the storm sewers and provides water quality. So in an instance where you have a dry detention basin, which is what this will be, there's not necessarily a place to provide water quality for the stormwater as it comes downhill. So it's kind of a turbine of sorts, and it lets any items settle out before that stormwater enters the detention basin. So it moves through the storm system. Any sediment or anything like that will filter out. That will be cleaned out periodically. There's, I believe, many developments within O'Fallon that have these to provide water quality where a basin or biobasin is not available to, or forebays in a basin are not available to settle those things out.
Who's responsible for maintaining it?
The homeowners association will ultimately be responsible for maintaining that. But after construction is done, there shouldn't be more than an annual maintenance on an item like that.
Is that reported to the city that it was inspected and?
Yes, so there'll be a maintenance agreement that will be signed and recorded, and it will be handed off to the homeowners association when we turn over the association, to have that order of operation moving forward.
The other thing, I know there was a note made a condition of the kiosks needing to be addressed by the latest building standards.
Yes, sir. I believe we did not originally show the covering of the mail kiosk, which we will provide a covering per the city ordinance.
And the lighting and?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, it will meet city ordinances.
Thank you, sir.
And then one of the other things to address, the sidewalks was a question too. I think that came up at some point. One of the reasons why we were taking the sidewalks to the radius, entering the cul-de-sac and stopping it there, is we kind of looked at some of the other surrounding neighborhoods where that is the case. And as you can see, Hickory Meadows Court, and I think Gray Wolf Drive that you can see in this, they do end in the same place that we have originally shown on our site plan here. It does tend to get a little bit pinched in those cul-de-sacs if you are putting them all the way around. So we like to provide a little bit more green space there. That was our reasoning for stopping them at the radius of the cul-de-sacs.
Commissioner Howard.
Code has changed since then, just like the fall zone changed. Code has changed and require the sidewalk since this other subdivision was built.
Okay. I believe we had looked at the code, and that's why we had taken them all the way to the radius on both sides. But could anyone provide clarification on that? Is that
David,
are we ending them where they're supposed
Todd?
to be ended if that's the radius of the cul-de-sac?
No, that's why we still have the conditions on there.
Okay.
So, yeah, we do, the code, like Mr. Howard had said, we have changed the code, so they need to be taken around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, be happy to do that and continue them around the whole cul-de-sac.
Yes, Commissioner Seymour?
Speaking of cul-de-sacs, did you,
Microphone.
the school district, you check with the school district, on the radius of the cul-de-sac, down from lot 3 through lot 9?
I believe we did we do have a letter from the school district that did see our site plan. Isn't that correct, Dave? And we provided that to the city?
Yeah.
It does meet their standards?
It does meet school district standards for turning a bus around? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
They did recommend at the entrance to the subdivision here at the T, coming in Garden Meadows onto our street here, they did recommend to put some sort of bus stop in that area. So we'll work through that in the improvement plan process. But there will be, a lighted mail kiosk near there, and we'll try to position the street lights that there's good lighting at that intersection as well.
And your homeowners association, once it's set up, will be totally different from theirs?
That is correct. It will be its own separate association, is the plan at this time.
And you will let them all know that as soon as you sell so many lots that you're no longer the administrator of the...
Right, yes, there's clauses in the indentures that stipulate.
All right, thank you.
And they'll meet the city code's recommendation or requirements at certain percentage. The first resident board member will come on, I believe that's at 50%, I believe, and then is it 75% now, the second one, and then the third one at 100? So,
Right.
Yep.
At some point, though, you will cease to be the executor, and
Correct.
it'll be turned over to them.
That is correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, and we typically have a turnover meeting with the residents when we do turn over that board.
Would you be opposed to meeting with the residents or with the concerns, outside or
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk with
place
them
where
afterwards.
they would like to meet at or whatever, just kind of set up a meeting with them? Kind of go over it, because we all want to be good neighbors. I happen to live in Indian Springs, which is pretty close.
Sure.
So I have a vested interest personally, and I'd like to see this subdivision go in and everybody be on the same page.
Yeah, but we want to coexist with the neighbors around us, and I have met with a few of the neighbors along Brook Hollow Drive already. I did speak with Ms. Duello, me and Jim Brennan, when we were on site.
If you can nail some things down with them, and I know.
Sure.
And not everybody's going to be happy, I know that.
I understand
But
that.
at least,
And
listen to their concerns.
Yep,
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
we'd be happy to do it.
Members of the commission, does anyone else have any other questions or comments for the petitioner?
I have one.
Mayor?
Stephanie, it's a preliminary plat, zoned R1, correct?
Yes.
And it matches everything in our,
If it matches everything in your code and it complies with all the provisions, then you have no discretion to reject it. You must approve it. If it does not meet the requirements of your code, you don't have the discretion to approve it.
okay. So again, this is not an R1 PUD. This is not, they're trying to shrink the lots to get more houses in. It's straight R1, 10,000 square foot lot. So again, I think it's probably maybe the first time in 4 years that we've had a straight R1 zoning come through. Most of them were PUDs and stuff, but this is a straight R1, 10,000 square foot minimum lot.
And we're surrounded by all R1. There's maybe an R1 PUD in there, so, we wanted to be respectful of that. and
Turtle Creek's an
realize-
R PUD.
Yeah, it's not really a good fit for anything besides R1.
Correct.
And I think an average lot size is just over 15,000 square feet.
Okay.
In the subdivision.
All right, with that, do we have a motion regarding this item on the agenda?
Motion to approve staff recommendations and conditions thereof. Nunnery.
Second, Costello.
Mayor, do you have a comment?
With the revision of condition 1.
Condition 4.
Or condition 4? Do they know what that condition says? Because I think their paperwork showed
Yeah, you're right.
something different than what the condition.
We're going to
revised
advise
condition is.
condition 4. It's going to say, the second sentence is going to say, it will be the responsibility of the developer to make the necessary repairs for damage occurring after the start of construction was documented.
Motion concurs.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the preliminary plat for the property at 845 Fisey Road. McKelvey Homes is the contract purchaser for a 20-lot, single-family residential subdivision. Members of the commission, cast your votes.
Voting is closed.
All right, motion carries. All right, the next item on the agenda this evening is at West Terra Lane, east of Lake St. Louis. This is a public hearing for the property on West Terra Lane. It's a request for consideration and motion of action on a preliminary plat for property on West Terra Lane, east of Lake St. Louis. Steiniger Brothers Investments is the property owner for a 2-lot industrial subdivision. Do we have someone here to present this item?
I don't have really a presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
This is on the table. Can we?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to. So first, at this point, we need a motion to remove this item from the table.
So moved.
Nunnery.
All right, we have a motion and a second to remove the item regarding West Terra Lane from the table. Members of the commission, cast your votes.
And the mayor stepped out, so voting is closed.
All right, so this now is open for discussion, so if you'll come back forward to the podium. All right, so tell us what you want to do. Give us a little bit of details here.
You want me to pull up Google Maps, or is there a plan or anything? It's really I have paper, but
help you.
We have it in our packet as well.
Perfect. I don't know if you guys want to throw that up there, but it's really we're just splitting the lot off. The neighbor it's much more usable for him than us, so that's really it. It's just our parcel, basically Peru Creek runs right through it, and we're on the other side. And Brock's Tree Service is our neighbor, and that's pretty much all it is.
Okay, all right. Members of the commission, does anyone have any questions or comments for the petitioner? All right, this is a public hearing. We have one person who completed a comment card to just, and that's Mr. Genoff.
Thank you, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I believe if I read this correctly, we're just subdividing the lot into 2 different lots. I just want to bring to the commission's attention when it comes for the preliminary plat, when that comes before the commission, that I see a lot of people walking along this neighborhood, and there aren't any stable shoulders or sidewalk connectivity. And so when we go to the next phase, I would like you to keep in mind that we need to start somewhere. We need to start constructing these sidewalks on all the public roadway frontages. But I don't have any opposition to subdividing these two lots. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
All right, well, with that, we'll close the public hearing and ask the petitioner to come forward again. Members of the commission, any other questions or comments regarding this item, or do we have a motion regarding this item on the agenda?
Madam Chair, I make a recommendation of approval based upon staff conditions. Howard.
All right, we have a motion and a second for approval of the preliminary plat for the property at West Terra Lane, east of Lake St. Louis. Steiniger Brothers Investments is the property owner for a two-lot industrial subdivision. Members of the commission, cast your votes.
Voting is closed.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. First item we have this evening under new business is 100 Highway P. This is a request for consideration and motion for action on a site plan for the property at 100 Highway P. A&E Entertainment is the owner for a site plan for grading. Do we have someone here to present this item?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Brian Pratt. I'm with Ballas Real Estate Advisors. I'm the development consultant and owner's rep to the owners of the property. The submission here is to do some preliminary grading of the site. Middle of the site's stacked relatively high relative to the needs of the cut fill. There's a conceptual site plan that was submitted along with the grading plan. Grading activity is going to be concentrated on the central section of the site at this point until a more formal site plan submission and fine grading is necessary to balance out for a final approved site plan. But at this point would allow the property owner to go ahead and begin some import-export, knowing that there is an excess of fill on the site, and time that activity relative to the market need in the community. In other words, someplace to take the fill that's closer.
All right, members of the commission, does anyone have any questions or comments? Yes.
So just curious, what's the plan then to develop this site into? Is there anything concrete yet?
It's, currently proposed as a mixed use. The conceptual sites plan you see before you would include both athletic as well as community space and some retail incorporated. But the feasibility of that plan is still being explored. We've met with city staff. There are some considerations that we're addressing through the planning, and then we'll need to address the financial feasibility ultimately based on the cost of the market. But the intention here is to do a mixed use project that would be a community asset for North O'Fallon.
Thank you.
Mr. Howard.
Oh, Commissioner Howard?
Madam Chair, thank you. What's the current zoning on this lot?
Do you happen to know?
It's C2.
Thank you.
C2, yeah.
C2.
All right, members of the commission, if no one has any other questions or comments regarding this item on the agenda, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve, Nunnery.
Second, Howard.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the site plan for grading for the property at 100 Highway P. Members of the commission, cast your votes.
Voting is closed.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda this evening is a request for consideration and motion for action on a display house plat for Strawberry Farms. McKelvey Homes is the applicant. The proposed use of 4-lot display house plat with parking. Do we have someone here to present this item on the agenda?
Sure. Good evening. My name is David Voles. I'm with Voles Engineering, and this is pretty easy. This is a second display plat. There was a display plat that was approved a few months ago for one of the lots, and McKelvey is wanting to build 3 other displays at this time. Ironically, the final plat is actually going through the process of review by the staff right now, and probably in January we'll be recording the final plat, which will make this void anyways, but this will give them a start on these displays a month earlier. So.
Okay. All right. Members of the commission, anyone have any questions or comments regarding this? All right. If not, do we have a motion regarding this item on the agenda?
Motion approves. Hennessy.
Second, Charlie Nagar.
All right.
And they're keeping the street clean.
Okay.
Just let you know they're keeping the street clean.
Yeah.
I haven't got any phone calls, so.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the display house plat for Strawberry Farms. McKelvey Homes is the applicant for a 4-lot display house plat with parking. Members of the commission, cast your votes.
Voting is closed.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. The next item on the agenda this evening is a public hearing for 24 O'Fallon Square. This is a request for consideration and motion of action on a preliminary plat for the property at 24 O'Fallon Square. O'Fallon Square LLC is the property owner for a 5-lot commercial subdivision.
Good evening. Jeff Simmons with Bax Engineering. Mr. Hendricks did a great job in the preliminary meeting explaining this. Basically, what they're trying to do is separate the various uses at this commercial subdivision. So there are currently 2 lots, and they are going to subdivide that into 5 lots. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Members of the commission, anyone have any questions? All right. If not, this is a public hearing. We have one person who's completed a comment card. Mr. Dienoff?
Thank you very much, members of the commission. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dienoff, City Public Advocate. I'm not opposed to splitting the commercial development into 5 parcels. However, I want to make sure that's recorded with the St. Charles County Recorder of Deeds Office that there is indeed a cross-access agreement for each one of the properties for all 5 of the proposed parcels to be subdivided, so that that would not impede or hinder any sales of those 5 parcels. So I think it's very important as part of this deal, and it should be a matter of one of the conditions that there should be a filing for cross-access agreements on all 5 of the parcels, so we don't want to impede or hinder the sale of any of these parcels. Besides that, I support the application. Thank you.
All right. With that, we'll close the public hearing and ask the petitioner to come forward.
If I may briefly address that, there is a staff condition to provide indentures, covenants, deed restrictions that would address those cross-access easements.
Okay, thank you. Members of the commission, anyone else have any questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion regarding this item on the agenda?
Motion to approve, Nunnery.
Second, Howard.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the preliminary plat for the property at 24 O'Fallon Square. O'Fallon Square LLC is the property owner for a 5-lot commercial subdivision. Members of the commission, cast your votes.
Voting is closed.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item we have on the agenda this evening is at 7136 South Outer Road 364. This is a request for consideration and motion for action on a site plan for 7136 South Outer Road 364. Oderm LLC is the property owner for a medical building addition. Do we have someone here to present this item?
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Ken Backler. I'm with CJB Architecture and Design here in O'Fallon. This project is an existing site. It is at the existing site of 7136 South Outer Road 364. And it includes a 960 square foot wood frame addition to be used to support as a support space to the existing brick building, the 4,200 square foot dermatology office. The exterior of the addition is proposed to include a pre-finished cement board similar to hardy board, be colored to coordinate the building, existing building. It's a small addition to the back there. It'll contain relocated and new aluminum windows to match the existing building. Also includes asphalt shingles to match the existing gutters and downspouts to also match. The existing HVAC units will be adjusted as needed and be screened with a new site-proof fence as needed or landscaping to meet city ordinance. And no other site improvements are proposed. That's pretty much it. If anybody has any questions.
Members of the commission, anyone have any questions or comments regarding this item? Yes, Commissioner Nannery.
Access to this addition will be through the dermatology center?
Correct.
And will there be any additional parking? Because that parking lot historically is completely full when there's somebody working there.
Yeah, as far as I know, the parking counts, well, it's 960 square feet, most of it's storage, and I believe that is under the allowed square footage for spaces. We can double check the spaces, but that shouldn't change or shouldn't need to change.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, members of the commission, if there's no other questions or comments, do we have a motion regarding this item on the agenda?
So moved, Nunnery.
Second, Howard.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the site plan for 7136 South Outer Road 364. Oderm LLC is the property owner for a medical building addition. Members of the commission, cast your votes.
Voting is closed.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item we have on the agenda is for Stonebridge Commons, the IFRIG tract. This is a unified public hearing and comment for rezoning, the preliminary plat, and the conditional use permit for Stonebridge Commons. Do we have someone here to present this item on the agenda?
Good evening, Jeff Simmons with Bax Engineering. You mentioned this was the IFRIG tract. This tract has been before the commission several times. We hope this is the last time. We've worked extensively with the neighbors. This tract is located, it's the last undeveloped lot at the intersection of Canal and Mexico Road. We met with the neighbors. We're proposing a rezoning that would allow for R2 on a portion of the site and on a commercial office under a conditional senior living overlay, an assisted living. I do have representatives of the developer here with me that will explain each portion of the project. Just want to remind you, as we've been here before, there's been a neighborhood market proposed on the site, luxury apartments that we evaluated and I think had a meeting in the O and decided not to proceed any further with that. Multifamily with the convenience store and what we are proposing tonight. What we're proposing, we'll have 39 two-family, two-unit townhomes, or for sale homes, I'm sorry, and 5 senior living units. And I do have representatives of the development team to take over the presentation.
Hello, everyone. EJ Sansone, Sansone Design Build. We also have representatives here with Harmony Homes. Got Bob DeClue and Matt Scarin. So first thing I wanted to walk you through was our initial concept that we actually did submit and we ended up withdrawing after we held an informational meeting with the nearby residents. We provided notice to everybody within a 300 square foot radius of the site, invited them out to provide comment to the initial plan, and this was the initial plan. Initially, we had proposed mixed-use transitional development district, which would have allowed for commercial and residential. The villas were similar to what we're proposing here, but what has changed is the retail component on the site. You can see on this particular site plan, we had retail proposed at the corner of Canaust and Mexico. One of the challenges with this site is access. We did a traffic study which showed that this would have worked. We set back the full access on Mexico Road a safe distance from the intersection at Canaust and Mexico, and then we had a right in, right out on Canaust Road. We also had the residential entry on Old Canaust Road. About the location where it's currently blocked and barricaded, our proposal was to remove the barricade, allowing access into the subdivision that we were proposing, which would have then opened up Old Canaust. A lot of the feedback that we received from nearby residents was resistance to opening Old Canaust, understandably so. They're accustomed to that road being closed. We also had concerns about traffic being generated by the retail and the entry onto Canaust Road, the neighborhood that's directly, I guess, south of their entrance is there, so they were concerned about cars coming out onto Canaust and also cars coming through the intersection at Mexico and Canaust, creating unsafe conditions. So we heard all of that feedback, and we amended our proposal, and this is the new plan that we've come up with, which I think is actually a much better plan that we're very happy with. So the main changes to address the resident concerns are, one, up here on Old Canaust, we will keep this road closed here. Our entry will be situated such that the road can remain closed and there will be no impact to any residents that are further down on Old Canaust. We'll be installing a 6-inch vertical curb here with some landscaping. So that will effectively prevent anyone from cutting through at that location. We only have one access point, which is on Old Canaust here. We've eliminated all other access on Canaust and Mexico Road. We have the R2 area here, which is the paired villas, 39 of them. We have 5 residential assisted living buildings on the CO portion of the site that'll have a senior district overlay, and we have a shared clubhouse here that will be an amenity for both the villas and the residential assisted living. The villas that we're building are, I'll address that next. So what we're trying to do here is an integrated senior living community. The villas are geared towards 55 and older demographic. It's low maintenance, yards will be maintained, and then we have the residential assisted living component. So we feel that this whole community is a very nice setting for folks to age in place. They can live independently in the villas and, if needed, transition over to the residential assisted living. We've also developed other villa developments in the area, and we are near memory care at that location, and we have found that we have spouses where one is declining, and they'll put one spouse into the assisted living facility, and then the other spouse can live independently in the villas that are nearby. So this is the 1.5-story floor plan that we are proposing. I'll give you square footages on that. The total square foot above grade is 2,315 square foot. The main level is 1,187. The second floor is 1,128, and they are built on basement that is approximately 1,000 square foot. On the main level, you have 1 bed, 1 bath. On the second floor, you have 2 beds and 1 bath. Oops, wrong direction. This is the 1-story ranch alternate floor plan. This particular floor plan has 1,574 square foot on the main level, and it's a 2-bed, 2-bath floor plan built on basement. And these are photos of a clubhouse that is the same plan that we're planning to develop in this community. This one has a pool shown. We are going to have a pool in this one. And these are elevations of the residential assisted living buildings. These are 16-bed homes. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Bob DeClue with Harmony Homes to speak on their product.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. Again, my name is Bob DeClue with Harmony Homes, and I just wanted to take an opportunity this evening to tell you a little bit about residential assisted living and what that brings to your community. We are excited to continue to serve the seniors of O'Fallon. This is part of our vertical. The last step is Harmony Homes, and it's really about a better level of care for area seniors. As you notice, these are built on essentially residential floor plans, and that's by design. We care for no more than 16 seniors in any one home. That offers an 8-to-1 care ratio, which will be during the night. Actually, during the day, we'll have more members on staff, so those care ratios go down. To contrast that to the majority of the industry, you're typically seeing 15-to-1 care ratios inside of what we'll call some of the bigger communities. So there's a lot of very nice communities out there, and I think they do a good job. We're a little bit different approach to senior living. It's a relatively new concept to the Midwest and to St. Louis in particular. There are a few of these homes. We are operating currently out west of St. Louis a bit. But if you go into other areas of the country, residential assisted living seems to be prominent. So it's a model that, as the demand for senior care continues to increase, which I'm going to talk about here shortly, this is, like I say, giving another alternative to the area seniors. And more importantly, it's allowing them to age in the communities in which they raise their kids. Okay, slides. We've talked about the care ratios. We're big believers in community. We have communal living areas, we have communal dining areas. We really promote, while each resident has their own living space, we really promote that community approach. So by design, our residents, 2 minutes, our residents do spend time certainly in their room watching TV or whatnot, but I think what we find in our existing communities is that they're out interacting with each other, doing activities together. So it's really promoting that involvement and that family-like atmosphere, which is really by design. We are one of the first providers in the area that are doing this more on a campus style, with multiple homes on one plot. And by design, again, these are built in residential communities because that's what we're here to do, is to promote that residential feel and to our properties. Okay, and just to wrap it up, I know we're short on time. 10,000 people a day are turning 65. Frankly, we are, as this current generation is starting to age and transition, we're facing a chronic shortage of senior living beds across the country. We've talked to the state of Missouri at other sites. They have told us that the demand is there. In issuing us a certificate of need, we are currently in process with that with this site. But we have every reason to believe that the state's going to come back with similar findings, that there is, in fact, a shortage of senior living beds in the area. Okay? And that's really the majority of my presentation this evening. I'm certainly here and happy to answer any questions we can for you. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Nunnery?
Will there be any fencing around the facility? Because as seniors age, and especially in the situation you're talking about, and you don't have to laugh at me, he thinks I'm getting old. Some of these senior citizens have a preponderance to take a walk. So if there's not a fence and it's in that particular corner of the world, there's going to be somebody that gets hurt.
Yes, sir. No, that's an extremely valid concern, and 100% of our yards will be fenced. There is outdoor living area by design, but we're here to keep our residents safe and closely monitored. Our staff ratios really lend to that as well. There's certainly some technology that we'll implement as well to help monitor our residents to make sure they're safe. But more importantly, those yards will certainly be fenced for the very reasons that you brought up.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mayor?
Can you go back to your site plan?
You're going to ask exactly what I was.
The colored site plan?
Yes, that one.
Yep.
Okay. Your street. It's coming through. It's going to be a city-owned street, correct?
Correct.
Stopping where? In the middle of the cul-de-sac?
The residential street?
Yeah.
So no, I mean, we would dedicate the whole street through the cul-de-sac?
Even around where the parking lot is?
No, that's private.
So basically what you're saying is the whole cul-de-sac?
Yeah.
What about this part that's going, it's going to look like these parking spots that are up by?
Yeah, no,
School Road.
those are intended to be private parking areas. You're talking about, yep.
The community clubhouse, by the community clubhouse?
Right. Mayor, this is going to be a typical right-of-way here with the sidewalk. It's just like any other subdivision cul-de-sac street. And then this is the boundary, would be the right-of-way here of the senior living.
Okay, what I'm just concerned is for trash trucks coming through and the snow plows coming through, are they stopping in the middle of the cul-de-sac?
No,
Or
it's
are they
all
going around the cul-de-sac and coming back out.
the entire cul-de-sac is public, similar
Okay.
to a subdivision.
But everything else, the parking
Everything
lot
beyond
and
that.
by the clubhouse is all going to be your guys.
Correct.
Just want to make sure. Close.
Thank you. Looking at the access right by the clubhouse, the little road that comes up, is there a reason that does not have access to Mexico Road, like a right in, right out?
We don't want it.
What's that?
We don't want it.
Oh, okay.
What the mayor said.
For servicing the senior living with
I understand.
emergency personnel, I think it's probably a good idea.
Commissioner Link?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple questions. So for the townhome units, those are purchased or rented?
For sale units.
For sale, okay. And then you said it was basically carefree, so it's lawn care, snow removal. What about the structure itself? Is that maintained by an HOA?
Maintained by the residents.
The residents,
The
okay.
HOA maintains all the landscaping, yards, irrigation, snow removal of the private walk.
The structure, though, is the residents?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, that's great to hear. We recently went through this in our subdivision with the habitational insurance market, and
it's a nightmare.
challenging. So that's wonderful news. All right, thank you.
So the snow removal, they're going to do the street too?
No, that would be
I
the
tried.
city.
I tried.
All right. Yes, Commissioner?
Yeah, one quick question. So on the design, with the assisted living on that end, is it just not feasible to ever have it on the other end? Like with I know you got a drainage ditch there, is it just the lay of the land wouldn't work? To have it flipped the other way?
I mean, the way that we looked at this is like that's more of the commercial corner. So if you were to have that down, shift it the other direction, you'd have houses backing up to a heavily trafficked intersection. The residential assisted living is more of a commercial use, so it essentially, to us, made more sense to have that located at the intersection.
And Steve, the other reason why it doesn't go through, because if it did go through, it'd be a city street.
Yeah, the initial site plan had access there. It didn't go over well.
No, it didn't.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Seymour?
thank you. I have to echo what the mayor was saying. I have some real concern about, because I have driven a snowplow in the winter and maneuvering a vehicle with a blade on the front of it in that cul-de-sac. Now, I'm having some real concerns of where do I pile the snow up at?
In the parking lot and let them clean it.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, you heard that.
Mr. Howard had something.
Oh, Commissioner Howard?
Thank you, ma'am. I seen a plan for one of the senior buildings, and there's just half baths in each one of the units. Is that just more like a senior home? That these are more caring, they need more attention?
Yeah, generally, the half baths are certainly by design. The full baths create a couple of things, a couple of issues in offering a higher level of care. First is the fall risk. And secondly, frankly, they don't get utilized. So there are communal bathrooms. Staff is typically doing the showering for our residents because they need that additional assistance. So showerings are scheduled. And it tends to work much, much better. Actually, our first property, we put full baths in and soon recognized there are ways there because, again, they weren't being used. And we just don't, if we can minimize fall risk at every turn, that's certainly our goal to do that.
In the other units, some of those are two-story, which stairs are a number one problem for seniors. I'm trying to visualize if I was living there, why I would need 3 bedrooms, being a 55-year-old person.
Yes.
And hopefully my kids are grown, gone, and, you know, hopefully.
We just have two different product offerings. Any one of these lots can handle a ranch plan or a 1.5-story plan. So we've just offered a couple of different product types to allow for flexibility based on the needs of the individual resident.
So if I come in and want to build one, the person that's going to buy the other half has to live with the ranch, if that's what I selected?
Each structure has to be the same. So the building, if it's a 1.5-story on one side, it's got to be a 1.5-story on the other side. So it's difficult to say how it would actually pan out because typically we pre-sell units. So depending on where the demand in the market is what we're going to wind up building in terms of the floor plan.
So you plan on building them, then selling them, rather than me come in and customize, this is the one I want? Or...
So we can pre-sell. So if we have a vacant lot and a buyer comes in and wants a ranch-style unit, we would build that for them. The other side would then have to be sold to another buyer who wants a ranch-style unit, and vice versa with the 1.5-story.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Seymour?
do you have any price points on these houses?
We don't have price points set in stone just yet because we haven't fully bid out the construction of them. But my anticipation is that they'll be selling around $400,000.
Each side?
Yeah.
All right. This is a public hearing. And we've had a couple people complete comment cards. Mr. Dienoff?
Thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman, members of the commission. This property is tough. I see the residents' point of view, but I see the broader point of our citywide comprehensive and land use plan. I know we've been up and down with this property for at least probably 10, 15, maybe a few more years. We spent just a few years ago $138,000 on a comprehensive land use and zoning plan. Our economic development director has been before the city council and at cabinet meetings and has advocated that we keep giving away our large parcels of commercial developing land. We as the city to sustain, we are top heavy according to the consultant, 70% residential, 30% commercial and office opportunities along with industrial parcels throughout the city. In my opinion, we're giving away a lot of these large parcels that can bring in an alternative of sales tax generated income to offset personal and real estate property taxes. I'd like to advocate for, on the Mexico side of this property, low-density office and medical opportunities. I believe that the frontage along Mexico and at the corner of Canast, there should be offered these type of opportunities with neighborhood retail. I think that's very important. Similar to the southeast corner of Mexico and Canast. According to our consultant and according to economic development staff, we need to have and find that balance of commercial and residential needs with proper buffers against certain zoning districts. Now I have some questions about financing of this project. Will they be making applications to the Missouri Housing Development Commission at the state level? And will they be making applications to the Missouri Housing Finance Board to get reduced interest rates? I want to ensure that this property, that there's consumer protections for seniors in terms of utilities and community issues. We don't want to ever repeat what's happening over at Hillman with the overnight millionaires of the son and father from Columbia, Missouri that are taking advantage, in my opinion, of senior citizens of our community, which is on the other side of Mexico at Bryan Road. I want to ensure that there's no use of tax credits, both state and local, for this property, and that there's no use of any zero tax abatement on personal and real estate taxes. The focus and care needs to be on the resident and not solely focused on huge profits. Sometimes these senior communities, especially the one at Bryan and Mexico Road, it's the focus.
Mr. Dinoff, your time's up.
Thank you.
All right, also we had Bill Luchtinghouse.
Mayor, members of the commission, thank you. My name is Bill Lichtenhouse. Lichtenhouse Properties, I represent the property owner. Address 410 Crestview Drive. I was just going to recap a couple of things we talked about. I took some notes. As it was said earlier, and for those who have been around this a long time, I think the first effort on this property for my clients was the Walmart neighborhood grocery about 10 years ago. Since then, we've tried a gas station. We tried a strip center, apartments, townhomes, and in all those instances, met with the neighbors, and you guys heard from them, and the alderman heard from them too. They were opposed to all those. So please understand, it's been exhaustive. The Ifrig family is, like my family, been here since the 1800s, and they're just trying to move on. They've had the property since 1995, I believe, when their uncle passed away. But, you know, some of the neighbors had concerns, as the mayor said earlier, about access off of Canast Road. It was very close to their subdivision entrance to make it work for the traffic light and the stacking lane. We had a right in, right out. We did a lot of work with staff to, I think, put it 460 feet back from the light. Couldn't make everybody happy there, so we've exhausted all those. We thought it was a good idea to open up Canals Road, and we found out it wasn't a good idea, Old Canals. So we're closing it, we're leaving it closed. These are just a lot of the things that we have, and the process has worked. Through all this effort, while it's been frustrating, we have a project now that almost, you can't please everybody, almost all the neighbors support now. They're not here tonight. They were here other times to oppose. The Walmart, they were here big time for. It made the newspapers. So we're asking for your support. I did want to say to the comment about you guys need to use all your commercial ground up and not use this. Well, first of all, the residents on 4 separate efforts now have testified and showed up at meetings that they don't want it commercial. So we're trying to follow their needs. But also, I remember from other projects I've done here, there's been studies that O'Fallon still has hundreds of acres of commercial ground that's sitting vacant. It usually is the last thing that gets built out. I have done developments on half-acre lots. My building sits on a 0.6-acre lot. So, you know, we're going to still have a lot of opportunities out of the hundreds of acres to do 1 acre, half-acre for, like I have a commercial office, or earlier we had a dermatology. So, and as far as the use, it's not MHDC. It's not MHDC. If it is, it's good. I have represented clients like that, and I think put 3 or 4 projects here in O'Fallon already. And every one of them has 200 people waiting to get in because the rent is 50% of the market rate. So it's really a good program. That's all I have. I'm available for questions. You have any? Thank you.
All right, with that, we will close the public hearing and ask the petitioner to come forward again to address the concerns of the residents and any other questions the commission might have.
I didn't really hear too many concerns from the residents, which I think is a testament to the fact that we've developed a good concept here. Like I said, we did hold an informational meeting. We probably had 20 or 30 residents turn out. We heard their concerns. There was a lot of resistance to it. And the fact that they're not here tonight, I think, bodes well for the concept that we've come up with here.
All right, members of the commission, does anyone else, Mayor?
You know, I'm going to probably get yelled at by him, but I'm going to say it anyway. Our public advocate, you know, he says we need to start listening to our economic development and keep the commercial, but then he goes back and says you need to listen to your residents. Well, we've done that for the 4 or 5 pieces that came on this piece of tract of land. We listened to the residents, and they did not want commercial. They blew this place up. I'm sorry, they didn't blow this. They came to these meetings and I respect the developers. They met with those residents, and just like you guys have met with them, because that was one of the concerns that I had when we first met, that you need to meet with them, because if you don't get their backing, it's going to be tough. You know, and I know you've met with the 2 councilmen from the ward, and they're okay with it. But our public advocate, I think he needs to make up his mind. He needs to make up his mind whether do we listen to our economic? Yeah. Should we keep commercial? Yeah. But we tried it. As Mr. Lickenhouse said, we tried commercial 4 or 5 times on this piece of land. But yet, he's saying we don't listen to our residents. So, you know, he's got to make up his mind. That's all I have, ma'am.
All right, Commissioner Howard?
Thank you, ma'am. The detention basin that's right along Mexico, is this wet or dry?
Dry.
Dry. Okay. The other thing that I'm concerned about, the lighting at the canals, Old Canals Road and Mexico Road. Want to make sure that street light is adequate for that location.
I don't think we have all the streetlights shown on this particular plan.
We don't, but in accordance with all of the city requirements, they are preparing a photometric plan for the site.
Yeah, I'd like to make that a condition that it be investigated and to make sure that there's adequate light. Seniors don't see as well as, 30-year-old people. Also, I'm not concerned too much about traffic because older people, especially if they're retired, they don't get out early in the morning and fight the traffic, and they don't get out in the evening fighting the traffic. So there's the daytime traffic when the traffic levels are low. So it's an ideal thing. It looks like something that you can move into and then move into. And we need something like that in the city. We don't have enough senior facilities. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, Commissioner Nunnery?
I just want to say that I support this concept 100%. I appreciate Mr. Lickenhouse following through on the efforts of the citizens that were in that immediate corner of the world. He could easily turn this over to somebody else who didn't care, and he didn't. The developers have done an enviable job of meeting with the residents, and I concur with what the mayor said. We're in a situation where we're finally coming to grips with what the citizens wanted in that particular area of the world, and I think it's a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think I did close the public hearing because I asked the petitioners to come forward. We have 4 items to vote on here. If there's no other questions, we'll start going through each one. The first is a request for consideration and motion for recommendation to the City Council regarding the rezoning of the property to be located at the corner of Canals and Mexico Road to be known as Stonebridge Commons, from CO Office District to R2 family residential district, Herbert Ifrig, Philip Ifrig Family Property Trust, and Linda Ifrig property owners for the proposed use of a residential attached villas. Members of the commission, do we have a motion regarding this item on the agenda?
So moved, nunnery with staff recommendations.
Second, Shirley Nagar.
All right, we have a motion and a second for a recommendation of approval to the City Council regarding the rezoning from CO Office District to R2 Two-Family Residential District. Members of the commission, cast your votes.
Voting is closed.
All right, motion carries. That will be at the next City Council meeting?
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, okay. The next item is regarding the preliminary plat. So a request for consideration and motion of action on a preliminary plat of the property located at the corner of Canalst Road and Mexico Road to be known as Stonebridge Commons. Herbert Ifrig, Philip Ifrig Family Property Trust, and Linda Ifrig property owners for the proposed use of a residential development of attached villas and assisted senior living dwelling units. Members of the commission, do we have a motion regarding this item?
In accordance with the plat meeting all requirements, make a motion to approve.
Second, Howard.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the preliminary plat for the property at Canalst and Mexico Road. Members of the commission, cast your votes.
Voting is closed.
All right, motion carried. So the preliminary plat has been approved at the corner of Canalst Road and Mexico Road for the residential development of attached villas and assisted senior living dwelling units. The next item is regarding the conditional use permit for Stonebridge Commons. This is a request for consideration and motion for recommendation to the City Council regarding a conditional use permit for Stonebridge Commons. Herbert Ifrig, Philip Ifrig Family Property Trust, and Linda Ifrig is the property owners, and this is for a proposed use of a senior overlay district. Members of the commission, do we have a motion regarding this item?
Motion to approve with staff recommendations, nunnery.
Second, Howard.
All right, we have a motion and a second for a recommendation to the City Council to approve the conditional use permit for Stonebridge Commons for the Senior Overlay District. Members of the commission, cast your votes.
And voting is closed.
All right, motion carries. So this will be at the next City Council meeting as well in 2 weeks?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is for the site plan for this property. This is a request for consideration and motion for action on a site plan for the property located at the corner of Canalst and Mexico Road to be known as Stonebridge Commons. Herbert Ifrig, Philip Ifrig Family Property Trust, and Linda Ifrig is the property owners for assisted senior living dwelling units. Members of the commission, do we have a motion regarding this item?
Madam Chair, I make a recommendation of approval based upon staff condition with the condition added that lighting be investigated and provided at Old Canals Road and Mexico Road.
Second, nunnery.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the site plan for the property located at the corner of Canalst Road and Mexico Road to be known as Stonebridge Commons, with the addition of the lighting being reviewed at the corner of Old Canalst Road and Mexico Road for the proposed use of assisted senior living dwelling units. Members of the commission, cast your votes.
Voting is closed.
All right, motion carries. And that's it on that item on the agenda. At this point, there's nothing on the consent calendar, so David, do you have anything for the City Council update?
Yeah, a couple things. We had Stevenson Place, which was the project on Sondern that had been tabled, but it was withdrawn at City Council. But then just, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, we got a new application for that, so that'll be coming back to us in some kind of different form. And then the other projects, the Dobbs and the scooters had first reading, and that's still working its way. We just had one council meeting in November with Thanksgiving in there, so That's what we got going on at the council level.
Okay. All right, with that, we will adjourn the December 4th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.